All flights are now boarding. Welcome to Indie Game International.
Fellas, my first question, well, rather than a first question, why don't the two of you introduce who you are, each of you individually, and then the company Hyper 3?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for inviting us to this podcast. And my name is Isaac, and I am the lead developer and co-founder of Hyper 3 Studio. And I have been working in the game industry for 2 years, 3 years, full time, and I'm also part of the main creators of our latest game called Tiny Lands. Maybe Abraham can introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone, nice to meet you. My name is Virgilio Cortez. As you guys noticed, we are brothers. So we were the founders of Hyper 3 Studio. It's a small indie studio based in Spain. It is a long story about our indie career. As Isaac mentioned, we have like 2-3 years with the company right now, but we have like more than 7 years in our indie career, like the dream game. So we've been working quite a while from all the perspective of this industry, and we're pleased to be here, and hopefully you can guys find some interesting story here. So it's a pleasure to meet you all.
Yes, it's a pleasure to meet the both of you. Tell me how Hyper 3 came about.
Basically, as Abraham mentioned, we are currently established in Barcelona, in Spain, but Hyper 3 was born around, well, it was a few years more ago that we had another like studio in El Salvador. We are from El Salvador. It's a country in Central America.
Okay.
And a few years ago, we were working on our mobile games and things like that. And we had the opportunity to pitch another game to other investors. And one of the things that made Hyper 3 Studio to be born is that there was like a different, a specific situation in which the investor didn't want to invest in a company that was established in Central America, because the reality in our country, in our former country, is that there aren't much indie game studios. There are around 4 to 5 established indie studios in El Salvador.
Okay.
So that was like the main reason, and they wanted us to move to another country. So after doing some like research and things like that, we decided to come here to Spain and establish Hyper 3 Studio. It was a pretty like as Abraham mentioned, we were like living the indie dream. And why is that? Because when we came here, we just came, we established the company, and everything was like all green, all good. But after that, the pandemic situation came and a lot of things happened. But basically, Hyper 3 Studio was born on October of 2019. We established it here in Barcelona, and then we started like our role in this game industry. Maybe Abraham, you can add some more.
Yeah. So as Isaac mentioned, we came here to Barcelona, but some of the background of the company is we first started on mobile games back in El Salvador. But, as indie, you realize how hard is this industry. To move alone nowadays is quite impossible. So we need to figure out how we can make the big step, and moving from our country was the first step. Before we came here to Barcelona in 2018 to an accelerator program called Game VCN, which helped us a lot. But because, as you can imagine, we didn't have any education in gaming industry, right? There is only I'm graphic designer. That's my title. And then there is no education in video games or any career that can get you near of this industry. So it was quite hard, and we were looking for knowledge, we were looking for experience, we were looking for listening to other studios' experience. So that helped us a lot to grow as a team. And then when the investor came and we decided which country we were supposed to move, we chose right away Barcelona, right? Because we already have an experience here and we like the climate and everything. Then the pandemic situation came, and as many stories of indie people, you have more like difficult situation than good situations. So everything, it's like 10 times harder than if you were like a normal company with a lot of budget. So you need to figure out how to survive, how to get investment, how to, the financial situation. And then once with the pandemic came, we were like kind of stuck with Isaac and saying we cannot do anything. We didn't have the investment that we came for. So what we can do with our experience, with our background, something that we can create during this time that we could not do any other thing. And that's when Tinylands born. So basically it was an idea of, in that moment, right? Like people, what people will need at that time when everyone was locked down in their houses, you have kids and they're going to get stressed and everything. So we try to figure out how to transform that idea into something that can like give the game a little bit more value, and with a simple concept, which is finding the difference. As you can imagine, like making a twist of a very simple concept. It's one of the, I will say, like the good points that we added to the game, and that has really helped us to outstand from other type of the same style of the game, right? And initially, we really visualized Tinylands as a Nintendo Switch game. At that moment, we didn't even knew how was the Nintendo Switch process. We had no idea about that. But, here we are. We just recently launched Tinylands last week. So I would say it's a success for us to be from that bad situation to where we are right now. So I think like that's a little bit of the background.
So basically you took a bad situation. You had a dream, right? Mm-hmm. You had a vision, and then you were met with a bad situation. You kind of went to a low point and thought, uh-oh, what can we do? Nothing. But then you were inspired and you realized that from this pandemic came the idea to make Tinylands. That's what you're telling me?
Yeah. Yes. Basically, Jared, to summarize it, Tinylands was our Final Fantasy game. You know what I mean? Okay. We had, as Abraham mentioned, we had an investor that's why the reason that we came here to Barcelona, to Spain.
Right.
And at the middle of the pandemic situation, they retired. Basically, they retired. We were like, okay, we are here, but we are alone. We don't have anything else more. So that's why when we stopped and say, what can we do with what we have? And we had to figure out something that could be to be like for as many players as possible, something achievable, something that were very casual, but at the same time something beautiful, something that makes you feel like in a different way that you normally experience games. That not stressing things, not timing things, just a game to relax and enjoy your time and have a chill time. So that's why.
Before we go any further, really quick, I just have to, basically before the audience potentially gets confused, this was going to be one of my questions. I'm loving everything you guys are telling me right now, and I have a million questions, but real quick, give me and my audience, who is someone who doesn't know, give us the elevator pitch of what is Tinylands.
So Tinylands is a find the difference game in a diorama where you can just chill and relax and have a nice time. That's this. But now the twist is that instead of being 2D, it's in 3D. So you have like more kind of difference and in a new twist of this genre. So that's basically Tinylands. Yes.
So when you initially made the move to Barcelona to set up a game studio and to make games, what was the next project before Tinylands existed? What were you going to make?
Yes,
So we had
Go ahead,
an
go
old
ahead.
project called Robot Force. It was a co-op game, like a 2D. The pitch is like this. Do you know like Power Rangers meet Super Contra? That was Robot Force, but it was a big project. So in the game, you could fuse together up to 4 players, and then you create a robot, and each player controls a part of the robot. So that's what pretty much the game. It was like a big game, but without investment, could be quite impossible to finish the game. So
Okay.
that's what the project we had before. Yeah.
Okay, so then COVID hits. You're in Barcelona, totally moved in, no going back. COVID hits, and you lose investment money. Did I get that correctly?
Yeah. We lose.
So-
And added to that, we were like, because we're not from Spain, we didn't have any documentation. So
Yeah, we were
couldn't
like
even work.
immigrants here. But man, you know, you were like you are a person who doesn't have legal access to a job, legal access to
Nothing.
to a lot of things. So in my specific case, I even had to sell food just to get to pay the rent where I stayed in a small room. And we have a very tough time here during that pandemic situation, and the investor just retired. We felt like everything was really bad. It was a really bad situation, and that's why we say that Tinylands was our Final Fantasy. It was our last try as a studio. I was talking with my brother and say to him, okay, if this doesn't work, I'm just going to stop here. I have a wife. He has a wife too, and we have to settle things, right? And we were like, okay, if this is not going to work, maybe we're going to stop here. We're going to see what we can do. But we decided to put all our effort, our dedication, or all our love to the game to make it stand out from the other games, from the old Spot the Difference game. We wanted to make something new and beautiful.
And there is a how to say, like a factor. Isaac and me, we are twin brothers. So since we were a child, every person who met us, it was like, okay, put one next to the other, and we're going to find the difference. So, I mean, we are the best people to make a find the difference game, I think, because we're twins, and every day in every place that we go together, the people is, well, what are the difference? And it's pretty funny.
That is funny. So I want to highlight something real quick. This interview is not going the way I thought it would, but I'm fascinated by your story. And I'm wondering if you feel the same way as I do, that it blows my mind that you just said that you guys were selling food when you got there as a result of your rent. So
I had to sell food with my wife.
At what point were you selling food? Like how long ago?
How long ago? It was before just a few months. The investor retired almost at the end of the pandemic. And before the pandemic situation, because we were waiting for our legal documents here in Spain. It was around, I think it was around this year now.
January, maybe.
Maybe January, February from 2020.
The worst situation of pandemic here in Spain started in March, I remember.
Yes.
From March.
Just one month before the pandemic situation. And then we had to stop doing that. And my wife had to start taking care of older people, this type of jobs that you can do here in Spain when you are having this type of legal issues and things like that.
Okay, so wait, so you're saying January 2020 or January 2021?
2020.
Okay, so this is what I want to highlight. So you're telling me that in January of 2020, so that's like a year and a half ago, you were selling food in a foreign country to yourself, trying to make ends meet, and now, a mere 18 months later, someone from the United States who you don't know, who has a podcast, emails you, tells you how much that they love your game and that they want you to be in a podcast. How does that feel to you from that transition?
I mean, for us, it's an achievement because I think the indie industry has a lot of very touching stories, and I believe that our stories like that, because it's a dedication. If you have commitment of what you're doing, if your dreams are working in this industry, then you're gonna have some tough times. But if you go over through that, you're gonna see the light, as we see in Spanish. You're gonna see the light at the end of the day. So yeah.
And another thing is that we feel super happy when we get this type of comment. For example, when we receive your comment, I immediately send the information to my brother and say, "Hey, look," and when everyone just gives us a message that says that they love the game, for us is a great achievement.
Happiness.
And why is that? Because is that we don't like publish our story before the game. Why? Because we didn't want people to purchase the game just for our story. I mean, that could be the case, but in our case, we wanted people to really enjoy the game, not because of our story, but because they really love the game. And that's why let's say like that, we were waiting for the right moment to share our story. And well, this is the opportunity too, and we are super happy to share that. But for us, it's a really, it's super exciting, super rewarding that you can see that if you put your efforts, even if it against all odds, the indie dream is real, but you have to work hard for that. You have to really work hard for that.
That really is amazing.
Now you say like, how does it feel? For me, seeing on my Nintendo Switch the game that we have worked really hard, you know how happy I feel that since we were a child with my brother playing Nintendo, now we have a game on Nintendo. I mean, for most of people that are used to this, they say, okay, it's another Nintendo Switch game, but for us, it means everything. We make jokes saying, "Now I can die," and they post on my coffin. This dude was one of the first Salvadorian who make a Nintendo Switch game. So for me, it's a great achievement. So we're really happy.
Nothing but love and congratulations for you guys. Like seriously, like it's funny too because you said, we didn't want to put our story out there before we released the game. We just want people to buy the game because the game stands on its own. And that is entirely true with me. When I hit you guys up to do this interview, I thought we'd be talking about little tiles with 3D models on them that you pick the difference. But instead, I'm hearing this amazing story about you guys persevering through the pandemic, through where you came from, through all this stuff to make an amazing game. And it's crazy to me too, to think you were kids playing Mario on the Nintendo and now you're like adults and you have a game on the Switch and some random dude in the US bought it and loved it and hit you up.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be a millionaire to be happy. For us, this is the biggest achievement of our life. Like working with your brother, it's like a dream. And then when we launched it on Steam, we didn't expect, to be honest, I didn't expect that most of people were going to play the game because I thought that's going to be a little bit more hardcore audience out there on Steam. So I wasn't expecting too much, but then we're really happy with reviews of the game, and that really helped us a lot. We're improving the game thanks to that. And then suddenly we signed with another publisher for Nintendo Switch. So I think we got the best, I don't know if it's luck, but the best path that we could have taken, we took that path.
Right.
So for the game, this was the best option that we can achieve from our situation. You have $0 to do a game. What can you do? Like, you just have your experience and then the passion to work for free because we didn't have any payment that moment.
Right.
Yeah.
So did the Nintendo Switch publisher reach out to you, or were you guys looking to get published?
So that was a very funny story because when we were working on the first version of Tiny Lands, we were like doing some research, looking for the right publisher that might that our game fits in their portfolio, right? So we were looking for some publishers, and it was very funny because we started sending emails. Hey, this is, and we explained our game. We send them the build, and we waited for a positive answer. But we sent a lot of emails, and one of them just answered and say, at this moment it is not like relevant for what was not relevant for them. And we say, okay, let's keep working, because with or without publisher, we were really like focused that our game was to be released. Even if it was released just by ourselves without a publisher, we knew that the game should be released with publisher or not. And the funny point is that a few months later, we were like just not finishing the game, but just progressing with the game. And we started to receive emails from publisher. So by that moment, something just happened, and the game started to take like more to grab more attention, because we usually shared on our social media some images, some videos, and then they started to email to us, and then it was very like great for us, and we had even to decide from three offers from different
publishers.
And that was for PC initially, and we decided to go with a publisher which has been super helpful. They provided us with investment we explained to them that we needed a partner to finish the game, because we were like self-financing the game. And you know what, our wives played an important role in this game, because they were like just working to like help us to cover the costs that we had here in Spain while we were
focus
like
on the game.
While we were investing our time in Tiny Lands. So we received some funding from that publisher that really helped us and to complete the game. So we made it, and then the first publisher that sent us like, okay, we're not at this moment, it's not like relevant for us. They were the ones that were pitching us if we wanted to be published by them. So they ended up pitching us their publisher, like what they do, what they wanted to do with the game. So we ended up publishing with them, and at this moment it has been a really great experience. We're super happy. We are expecting all the best, and wishing that this is just like the first step to more other amazing projects.
Do you guys have an idea for your next game?
Yeah, we have like two ideas, but I don't know if we can say it. But yeah, at this point, our roadmap is to release on the next console, which is Xbox, PlayStation. I mean, we can do the first official announce here. So we are releasing a new DLC for the game for free, because I think like we have received too much love from our audience that they deserve something more than what they have done for us. So we want to be this grateful company who provide our community more content for free, because they deserve that. And we are very like compromising with this game. So we're going to release a new DLC with 30 new levels. And we have implemented some new features for the game based on what people has been asking for this time.
Okay.
So
I was gonna now I'm just a fan and not an interviewer. I was gonna ask about DLC, because the game, it's like I feel like there's just so much more room for you to do different kinds of levels and different settings. You know what I mean?
Yes. When we designed Tiny Lands, we were like thinking, okay, if this makes a boom, or if this works, we have to think that this needs to be scalable. So we thought about that at the moment that we were designing the game, and we designed it like in that way, so that we can also expand the game. So thanks to that, by this moment, we are almost finishing the new content that we are preparing, and we will release new levels, new themes, new thematics, right? So if you have seen in the game, there are different thematics, and we are moving into that way. So we are releasing 3 new thematics, which are 30 levels in total, and the new a small feature that we are going to include in the game for this next release.
Okay, and you said that'll be free DLC?
Yes, It's going to be free. It's going to come like it will come as a patch or as an update, and it's going to come as an update, because we are doing We are adding some features that, as my brother explained it, the community has been requesting. And that's why we are not going to put it like a specific DLC like this. We're going to provide this new content so that you can also experience the new feature that we added into the game. So that's why we are putting it as a patch. It's a patch that's going to provide more levels.
That is amazing. And anyone who's listening to this who's considering getting the game on its own, the way it is now, is worth the money, and it's an awesome game. And now they're telling us that you guys are going to give us free DLC and 30 new levels. How many levels? Yeah. How many levels are in the base game?
50.
50. So 30 more. So more than 50% more.
Yeah. 80 levels. Yeah, you have like 10 hours of gameplay there.
That is amazing.
If you're quick.
So let me extend a gracious thank you from everyone in the world who owns Tiny Lands. So thank you for doing that. That's amazing. That's totally on my list of questions. I was because it really feels like the concept feels like you wouldn't even need to make a sequel. You could just simply make more tiles.
Yeah, we see like Tiny Lands has, we see like this. You remember these kind of games were very popular in the newspaper, right? So we want Tiny Lands to be your Nintendo Switch or your PC game that you play like every 3 months or not because you can do it daily, but you're seeing content every time. So the game, it's quite endless at some point, we hope. But it's really like, as Isaac mentioned, it's scalable, which we think that TinyLand has that feature, and it's globally understandable. So we don't need the game doesn't even have a lot of text, but at the same time, it's narrative because depending on the people, you find stories in the game. So that's why we try to make this like handcrafted, like one by one with so much love and so much dedication that you can find stories in that. We always try to make a monolith on each game, so you don't, even the levels, the monolith.
Wait, what do you mean by monolith?
Monolith is like a something that make you represent that game. For example, you play the Kraken, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the monolith. So we try to put something that is memorable for players. So instead of having a name of a level, each one give a representation, but everyone knows what level we are talking to. So we try to put that on each level so people can have a memorable,
experience.
Okay, yeah. I would love to touch on this. So that's one thing I noticed in the game. Like you said, there's almost no text. There's no story. You're kind of just you select a level in a circle, and then you enter the level, and you basically see a frozen 3-dimensional scene, right? So, and this is what I loved about the game is that when you initially look at it, it's completely static, right? And then as you continue to play and you move the little tile around, you start to pick up, there are noises, right? So there's this gorgeous soundscape happening that matches what you're looking at. And then as you look closer and as you rotate the tile, you notice that there are little stories that can be found within this static 3-dimensional model. One in particular I will mention, so many of them come to mind, but the one that I remember the most, because it works so well and it's funny, is there's a snowy level wherein there are people fishing, and then there's like a little kid and he's chasing penguins, and the penguins in their mouth have the fish. So you just look at this little tile and it tells you this totally awesome, like heartwarming little story. And I loved that. And it came out of nowhere. So that's what you were going for, it seems?
Yeah. Try to do that. I mean, like something that you can enjoy even if it's frozen, like you mentioned. So when we're making the game, we say like, we cannot just put like simple random objects because it's just going to look like a normal mobile game, perhaps, or something that is not made like personally. But what we try to realize is when we try to put the names on the game of the levels, we say how would we call this level if we were to put a name on this one? So that makes you think like we need to put something memorable that represents the level. So and that lead to a narrative story that can be discovered if you are very like detailed and try to find that. And we like that because when we watch the stream on Twitch, that's another thing that came after the launch on Steam. we were like super happy of so many people streaming the game. We never thought that people were going to stream that game, but like Tiny Lands has something that can really helps you to engage with your community because you're solving with them. They are like trolling you, and we love that kind of approach that people create on Twitch because we never expected that this game is going to have some representation on Twitch. But suddenly, 2, 3, 4 streamers. I mean, we're not super famous, but I was happy with people investing their time in streaming our game. So and some of them were very funny. They were streaming in Japan, Korea, Philippines, and all places of the world that you can imagine.
Yeah.
So realizing that your game reached that far and people from other cultures and other language understand the game, even if it doesn't have like the text, I think it's like that was the goal, to be like understandable globally.
Right.
Because of the stories doesn't have language, right? So that's what the idea behind each levels. And in the new DLC, we have put triple effort on the dioramas. So you will expect something way better than the first 50 levels. So we're very excited to announce that very soon.
Wait, when will the DLC be releasing?
We are estimating that there is no final official date because we are going to publish that in our social media. But we are estimating that at the end of July, probably it's going to be at the end of July, but there's no final date yet because we have to put an agreement with the publisher. We have to establish date, the strategic thing that at which moment is better to release the content. But we expect that, or our desire is to be ready at the end of July.
Okay. I am eagerly awaiting that.
You mentioned something about the sounds and also...
Oh, yeah. I would love to talk about the sound effects. Yeah. What
yes.
were you going to say?
So we basically decided to put some the effects that you can hear within the game. And that's why we made sure that at the beginning of the game, you can see the message that use headphones for a better experience.
Yes.
Because it adds to the chill. It's like the ASMR sounds that brings you more it gives you a better experience in the scene that you're playing. So we decided to put this type of specific sounds to make the static diorama more alive, so that you're not just watching a static image or the traditional. We wanted to move to give a new experience in this Spot the Difference game. So that's why these sounds came in, because there is, I think, only one or two games that is almost like the same of us, but we wanted to bring a new experience to the player in the Spot the Difference games. And for the music, we usually, when we are working with my brother, we also put some lo-fi music, piano relaxing, and things like that.
Yeah.
So we thought that this game, if we wanted to add more chill, more relaxed, more feeling to this game when you were playing the levels, we decided, because we were only 3 people. Hyper Studio, it's only me and my brother, and there is another friend that is he also came here to Spain. But none of us can compose music. So the problem that we had is that, okay, we don't have money to pay a composer, and we cannot compose music. So we decided to try our luck and ask, and we sent an email to the composer that is Big Rice Piano. That's the main composer of the 95% of the music that you're going to listen in Tiny Lands is composed by Big Rice Piano. He's a very great musician. He has his own YouTube channels. So we decided to show the game to him and say, we are an indie studio. We are self-financiating, and we love your music, and we would like that your music to be in our game. And we explained it to him what the game was. We sent him a build. He played the game, and he said, hey guys, I know you guys are indies, and you can use my music.
He said, I would love to see my music in this kind of game.
Yeah.
That's what the phrase that he mentioned, and we love it because he was like excited to have the music. And
yes, and another amazing thing is that we didn't like sign a worldwide document just to say, okay, we're going to pay you after we get sales and things like that. It was a very trust relationship with him, and we say, okay, we cannot pay you right now, but once the game releases, we're going to pay you what the price that we agreed, because to use your music in a commercial way, right?
Yeah.
So he said, it's okay, I will wait, and wish you the best of luck. And the game released, and it was amazing. And we I would say we completed that promise. So we contacted him and say, hey, thank you very much. And then we paid him what he deserves, and we were really happy. And that's why we have this beautiful music in the game, thanks to him.
Yes, I agree that the music in combination with the sound effects is so beautiful. And I must say that I agree the use of like the more kind of background type music that this Big Rice piano does is perfect for. So, and it sounds like you guys basically chose the same type of music that you listen to while building the game to be the game soundtrack.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of. We are making like this YouTube playlist of lo-fi, chill hop, relax, working and games, things like that. You know, like
I thought
it's not a directly lo-fi game, but kind of like it's the same.
Okay, now I'm curious about actually just to real quick stay on sound. So you guys don't know how to compose music. You didn't have very much money or much of a budget, self-financed. How does 2 or 3 people who have no experience composing music, with no money or no budget, how do you go about recording sound effects? Is it as simple as take a recorder and go to a car and film it starting up?
Yeah. Some of them I'm not. I had to before some recording gear, and then some of the situation that we can have nearby, we try to record ourselves. But you know, like there are some of websites that you can find small clips of certain kind of clips. So we tried to do the best we could because, you know, we were in lockdown. So we didn't have like free access to every place. So it was hard in that point. So we get on these websites and you get like some kind of small SFX, but then we try to mix them, fuse them, how we can, because, you know, there are some sounds that are very specific. So even if the platforms, you're not going to find them easy. So
yes, and for a platform that we use actually to get our main, like the 80%, 70% of that SFX, that sounds that you can hear in the game are handpicked. I mean, I take a day, I put a list. Okay, this level is about. I see penguins here. There is a boat here. Okay, I'm going to look for some specific boat sounds, penguin sounds, and then I handpicked that SFX, and then I put like a diagram, a list, and then I put that sounds in that specific levels, so that probably you might not going to hear all the SFX because they are played randomly in the game, and they are not like reused in the whole levels. I mean, in this new content, we have like 10 sounds that you're going to only be able to hear in 1 or 2 levels.
Oh, okay.
And that's it.
Yeah.
We are very like handpicking sounds very, very specifically to make sure that you can have a great experience in the game.
So imagine in this new DLC, you have like minimum 100 new models,
yes,
new props.
We have
so it's very strange that we use the same props of other levels, but you have we were making like numbers last time when we were working on the first step of the new DLC. I just counted like I think like 200 new 3D models for the game. So could you imagine like new every level have a lot of details, and with that comes like we want to personalize each of the level of Tinyland. So
right. So how do you, I mean, I think the game has a very distinct visual style. I think people refer to it as like low poly or low polygon or something.
Yeah, it's low poly.
How did you land? Like, I think that it's a beautiful game visually, but how did you land on that aesthetic? And is the final product's aesthetic, like, how much of it was defined by your budget and how much of it was defined by your artistic vision?
I think most of the decision, it was like, like low poly doesn't have to, you don't have to invest too much time on that.
Right.
Being in the situation that we were, like, we decided that this kind of game should look cute,
right.
easy to read or to see. And if you have like a lot of details on every 3D model, it's get hard, right? Talking that we're making a find the difference game. So can you imagine like a high resolution 3D model? It's gonna be quite challenging to find this kind of thing. So I want to make an approach that was simple, but you can understand the shape of what you're looking for. Then the other thing that we try to use a lot, it was post-processing in Unity, which I love it because I'm mostly in the visual side. And when I work in animation or other kind of projects, I'm very picky with the aesthetics of a game. And then when I find post-processing in Unity, I just love that tool because it's like, like depth of field, the lights, the shadows, everything looks really, really, really beautiful if you know how to use it correctly.
Right.
Because I wonder why people doesn't use this too much. And because if you're not very careful, this can like overcharge the graphic processor unit, which you're gonna get a lot of problems on Nintendo Switch with that. So you need to have a kind of a balance on how far you can go with this tool, because you can do a lot of beautiful things, but they require a little bit more of processing. So we try to use this, and then I love the isometric view. I have my personal projects on Behance, and if you see that, I have like a Zelda. I made like how to say, when you make something memorable of another game, like a representation, like a tribute. I don't know how to say it in Spanish. Is tributo, but you make like something representing another game. So I make a Pokemon isometric render, and then I make a Zelda isometric render. So I like this kind of view, and you don't see that usually in games. There are very like how this name? I don't remember this one, but not many games use this isometric. And because of the diorama representation, I think that view, that angle, makes a perfect match of the genre of the game. Because I cannot imagine like orbit around and moving in every aspect, because when you orbit, you change the perspective of the camera. But being isometric, the 3D models doesn't change the how to say, like the size.
Right.
So yeah, you have a lot of advantage.
I wanted to mention, especially you just mentioned the lighting. I think the lighting in the models is one of the best parts, one of what makes it so like inviting to just stare at. I think the lighting is just gorgeous, like especially the ones with the lanterns and stuff.
Yeah, we try to make that, and also like small details have like wind trails, leaf falling, snow, a fireplace, small things that can be animated, that they can be done really quick, but it adds up a lot of visual aesthetic to the game. So we try to, I think, like just to achieve the visuals that we have currently, it takes a little bit like 2 months, maybe, because we tried many angles, many ways of seeing the game. But I always remember the first time that we have like the first approach of the visuals in the prototype. I just love how it looked, but then I don't see it right now because I'm less like 8 months seeing the game. So I lost that the magic feeling that you were saying, because I already like quite burned of seeing that. Yes. But I remember the first time, and I say I have never seen a game that have this kind of like aesthetic touch. So I'm just trying to remember that, just to not change anything, because sometimes you can make mistake, like because you get tired of see something, you think that this is bad and you try to change it again. So we try to avoid that because we know that this work and it look good. So.
Yeah, and I agree that when I initially saw the game, that was my first thought too, was that, like I was attracted to it visually because it is very distinct looking. It doesn't look like other games. I'm curious about, I believe it was, Isaac is you said that you were in charge of porting to Switch.
Yes.
So the game was originally programmed for PC.
Yes, that was because we didn't have money to purchase the dev kit. So initially we said with Abraham, okay, let's just put it on PC, and then if we get money, we can purchase the dev kit. But at that moment, I was designing the game. I was programming the game to work only with PC.
Right.
So, but a few months later, before the release of Steam, and since we got the support of the publisher for PC, and also one of our sisters who lives in Japan, she sent us money to purchase the dev kit. So we were able later on to get the dev kit. And then after that, I started to port the game. So when we were finishing the game for Steam, at the same moment, I was checking that the controls were okay in Switch. We revised the post-processing graphics because in Switch is more delicate. You don't have the same power, like from a PC, you don't have the same power on Nintendo Switch.
Right.
So we had to tune that, and yes, after that, I started to fully port the game. So it was also my first time. I think this is my second or third project in Unity, because I was using another engine before, so I had to learn Unity. You see that the game mechanic is not super complex. The game is not a game like it's a AAA game.
Right.
So for me, it was a really great experience with Unity. I found out the power of Unity, and also was my first time porting a game to Nintendo Switch. So I learned new things, and a lot of things I didn't knew before. But I had to read the documentation of Nintendo to understand, to make some trial and error, things like that.
Yeah.
And we were able to put the game on the Nintendo Switch. So for me, is a really amazing experience for me as a developer, that porting a game for Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, that I only experienced it on the Switch, and it looked and played wonderfully, exactly how it was supposed to, I believe.
Yes.
So you did a great job on that.
Thank you.
Okay, so I just have a couple more questions. Sorry, one moment. Whose idea was it to add the ability to turn the lights on and off in menus?
Oh, it was
Thanks to the community.
Thanks to the community. But at the same time, I own a Switch, and I play a lot of Switch. And I was realizing and thinking, what will happen if I play this at midnight or 2 a.m.? Does the light is a little bit bright mostly because the user interface, because when you do transition or you're selecting level, you transition to white. So imagine that transition at 1 a.m., you will get blind.
Yep.
And added to that, the community comments and everything, that was like a great match on how to achieve the night. Because, and also we thought that it's going to look cute on a game, right? Not much game have a night mode and a day mode. So,
and another thing that we try to do is to hear the community, because since the launch of Nintendo Switch, we realized that, since the launch of the Steam version, the PC version, we realized that people just can provide a great feedback to your game, and another developers cannot or doesn't listen to their community. It's not that you're going to do whatever they say too, but you have to take like the good points and things that are going to add a more value to the game. So we received those type of feedback, and then we were like discussing, okay, I think that if people has noticed that, and we also noticed this, and it's important that we can put this on the game. So it was really well accepted in the community. They were very happy that we implemented that. So it's part of like having a good communication with your community can improve your game. And that's why the Switch version just came up very, very like a more polished version from the PC. As of now, they're both the same. But the result of the Nintendo Switch was that with Steam, we could polish more the game.
Okay. I'm curious. So I interviewed, are you guys familiar with a game called Journey of the Broken Circle?
Yeah. I have it on my Switch. It's like a purple blue color, right? Of a circle who is finding like friends and moving into the right side, like a 2D game, right?
Yes, precisely.
Oh, yeah. Great.
I played that game on my Switch, and I reached out to the developer of that game as well. And I spoke to her. That company's called Lovable Hat Cult. But one of the questions I asked her, I want to ask you as well, because I'm curious what you have to say. What is launch day like for an indie video game?
You don't sleep. You can eat. You can't even go to the bathroom. You have nightmares. It's very stressful.
Yes, I was talking to Abraham that the launch day or the week after launch is crazy.
It's
for
crazy.
Steam, for Steam, it was just crazy, super crazy, because people, I don't know, well, people just like we're into the game, and then hey, there is a small bug here, there is here this we had like a problem with the data of the game that when you purchase a world, the world didn't unlock, and it was like very super crazy week. I was like super stressed and to fixing the issues, updating the game, making sure that we were like 24/7 support assistance to people that were reporting an issue. They send us emails and things like that. So that week is just like super, super crazy.
And also because, that is on developer side, but in the marketing side, you're looking for YouTube videos, you're looking for the reviews, you're looking for the Twitch. We mentioned that a lot of people start to streaming the games. We even appear on a Japanese TV show from idols that they were playing the game. And we were like super overwhelming of how far the game reached, because, we have a huge acceptance on Asian market. Because I think it's the biggest market that we have on Steam right now. So we were very surprised with that. So imagine you're very anxiety.
Anxious, I think.
Anxious. Yeah, anxious. And I have some nightmares. I dreamed that we sell a lot of copies. I dreamed that we didn't sell anything. You have all that stuff in your mind that you can live properly those days.
So I'm curious, weren't you, not to say that you intended to make a buggy game, but weren't you expecting to be doing a little maintenance once it released, or is that not what game makers expect?
Our idea was that, okay, probably there are going to be some minor bugs and things like that, but the problem was that it was like a very critical bug. So I think that was the problem.
Yeah,
and
it's what what they call a game-breaking bug, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we found a way to fix that without sending an update, but it was very not the correct way. So we had to fix that as soon as possible. So that in my case, that was super stressing because I had to find why was that happening on the game and test it out while people were just purchasing the game and testing the game. If you see in our Steam page, most of the negative reviews were because of that initial bug. So that it really impacted us a lot. Well, some of the negative reviews are from that bug. So that was added more stress to the release. And we at some point I just wanted to I just want to put down the game, fix it, and then put it up. But our initial idea was to put it as more polished as possible, and not providing a month maintenance or things like that. We wanted to put the game working correctly, that people can play it, that minor things, right?
Yeah,
we didn't
mostly that's one of the biggest issue that we have with the launch. And it wasn't like if you play it, you're gonna find out. You had to do several certain steps or specific things to get that bug. But let's say 80% of people didn't get that mistake. But on Steam, if you get 10 bad reviews, people are just going to skip your game, right? So we were very careful with that. And that's why we didn't sleep very well those days. But yeah, it was a great experience. Yeah.
Okay. So now a somewhat similar question, but a little further back in time. Did you guys play test the game before it was released?
Yeah.
So what is it like for a person who has nothing to do with your video game to play it for the first time, even in a testing stage? Like, how does that make you feel?
When we do the testing, depending on what phase we were testing, because we're testing with the first testing that we do in Playtest is the concept, the proof of concept. So if people get the idea of what the game were and the controls, then we move into the next phase of testing. So the next one was the gameplay. Is it boring? Is it like too noisy? What was your experience? What was the most memorable level that you remember? Things like that. And we're very surprised that people find very quickly the controls very simple. We want to make it the simplest way that we could for people, because we know we were aiming to not a hardcore audience of gamers, because it's a very casual game, I think.
Yep.
So we try to make it really friendly, the UI, if it's understandable, if the icons are understandable, things like that. But as we mentioned, like the booths were really like very weird, like things like normal people won't do, but there's people who try to book the yes no. So we try to do that ourselves, and didn't find anything. But play testing, and then you try it with more people, then you have more chances to find something weird, right?
So I have a question about the actual building of the game. It's just what I was thinking about while I was playing it, and I could be totally wrong, but I just want to test my theory. So when you turn on the game, and I'm kind of explaining this for people who don't know what it looks like. When you enter a level, you're basically greeted with the same image on either side of the screen, and it's kind of split down the middle. And the idea is to rotate the images together and to find the differences. So I'm curious. If I were to guess, I would assume that you built one tile, and then you just duplicate it and then move certain things in one of them, and then that's it. Or am I way off?
Yes, we have a pipeline for every level, and it is something like that. So basically, Abraham designed the level, and then he sent me like the core, like the base, and then I put it on the scene, and then in the pipeline, the next step is to duplicate that. Because we use 2 cameras in the game, to duplicate that, and then we start putting the difference. Okay, in which part the difference can be seen in this way. So we check every difference, but basically that's it. We get the scene, the main scene, and then we duplicate it, and then we start putting the differences.
So how difficult was it to balance the difficulty? Like, did you find initially it was too hard or too easy?
Yeah, at the beginning of the play testing, we were like, because we are FPS player too. We play Battlefield, things like that.
Yep.
So for us, this game is super easy, right?
Yeah.
For us hardcore gamers. So at the beginning, I was like putting the difference, and okay, I'm going to put it in this size so that people doesn't find it very, very easily, because it is easy for me, but it was not that way. After the play testing, we discovered that most people just felt that the game was super hard and the difference were not very noticeable. So we tried to reduce that gap, and we were balancing more the game. Basically, what we have right now is that since you can play whatever level you want, you can start from the last level, or for the first level, you can stop and then skip 2 levels.
Yeah.
So what we do is that for each level, we try to only leave one difference to be harder than the other ones.
Okay.
So you can start I found this one, and I found that one. But when you stay at the final difference, it might be more difficult than the other one. But since you have already discovered the other one, that's one more to go, right? So you have to put some effort there.
Other thing is we want the people to feel like it's not the game. Not to blame the game, but to say, okay, the difference was there, but I wasn't seeing it. So we try to play it. I don't know if you noticed, but each level had its own like a common color palette. So we try to play based on that. Maybe at some point we trick your eyes of some similar colors, so you don't see so quickly. But that doesn't mean that it's hard to see.
Right.
It's just you don't see it properly. So I think like it's a very risky balance on this kind of game because people might just say this is too easy. I don't like it. Or, on Steam, if you complete the game in 2 hours, then you can just return the game and you get your money back.
Yeah.
And these kind of games, you can make it like very easy, and people's going to return the game. So what we try in the play testing is how much does it take to complete the game, and try to guarantee that you at least get like 4 hours of gameplay for normal people, because we have seen people that clear the game in like 2-point-something hours, and we have seen people that play the game 16 hours or maybe 12 hours. I don't know. So that balance was kind of the challenging of this game, because you cannot make it like too easy, but not make it too hard, because people's going to get frustrated instead of relaxing. Yeah. So if we are managing this relaxing experience for the game, let's make difference not easy, but let's trick your eyes. And most of people have said this trick, like if you cross your eyes, you can see the difference, but that's why the particle came in. And those kind of animations make this trick. If you have like seen that if you cross your eyes, you can just overlap the image and you see kind of the difference.
Yeah. So
because we knew that people was going to try that, we added particles and other moving elements, so you don't even see it like at the first.
So basically, spot. Particles came in to add more like a vivid experience to the static diorama, and also to make it harder to use that trick on the game.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
It's very interesting. It sounds like making a video game is, it sounds like you as the game makers have to wear several different hats and have to know how to manage several different assets or facets of a completed project. And it sounds like it's only 3 of you.
I mean, we have like this 7 years of experience of being, because we're going to be honest, to be here, we have failed so many times. So, but each time has been rewarded because you learn something. Right. And at the end of the day, we apply all that knowledge with the accelerator that we came here in Game BCN. They help us a lot because we try to feel like, how do you manage the feedback? How do you manage the level of complexity? How stressful you want to make a game? So all of that things, I think tininess is the result of all the learning on how to properly make a game based on feedback, based on play testing. So that really helps you to make it more accurate to what you're looking for of the pillars of the game. So being relaxing, be aesthetical, the game, and and the third point was make it simple. So I think that's the secret.
Very nice. Well, because I was going to say, it sounds like you had a super stressful launch day for this game. I can only imagine your next game can only be less stressful, right? I mean, because of what
hopefully
you did first time. So I have one more question about the game itself, and then I think we could probably wrap it up. I obviously there are very distinct settings within each, I guess you could call them world. You have like your beach setting, you have the Asian aesthetic, you have like the haunted Halloween-y type one. I'm wondering, are you guys interested in incorporating your own culture or your own where you came from? Like, have you thought about doing a set of tiles that are Central or Latino American themed? Because I think that would be very cool.
Yeah, currently in the DLC we have some on the game. There are some hints, some Easter egg we call it. So there are some hints about our culture. Okay. So because we thought that at some point when people know about the game in El Salvador, which is currently what is happening right now, because we are the first Salvadorian who make a Nintendo Switch game. So a lot of people is getting interested on the game. So we try to add some kind of secrets inside of the dioramas. But I think we're open in the future that maybe add something representative from, mostly for El Salvador, right? But,
the reason for that, or maybe you haven't seen that in the current version, is because we took like the more like understandable thematics, right? So everyone knows that there is spooky things, snow, the Japanese, the Oriental things, and the beach, the forest. So we took these more understandable thematics that help us to reach a more big audience.
audience. Yeah, because it can happen that most of the people don't know anything about El Salvador, and they are not going to understand what is happening on the diorama. So that's why we initially, and I think like most of the developers, you need to think like internationally and not locally. But in the future, will be like fun to add something representative. Perhaps we were thinking like there will be like an interior diorama theme, and then we can do the studio for three of us working on a small room. Maybe something like that, right?
That is so cool. You guys are so creative and awesome. I am. Obviously I liked the game, so I reached out to you. I had no idea that I would meet the two of you and you guys would be as cool as you are and as creative and like conscientious of the end user, which I love.
Thank you.
Yes. Is there anything else that you want to tell anyone or my audience about Hyper 3 or about Tiny Lands or just, I don't know, anything in general?
Well, in general, so I would like to think that everyone who has already bought a Tiny Lands, or if you haven't, I will invite you to check out, just type Tiny Lands and then you'll get the PC or the Nintendo. But in any case, we would like to thank everyone who has supported us, because for us, if you get the game, you're also supporting us directly and make us like to become or to create more other amazing projects, and also that you can have a really good time, a really chill time with your family, with your kids. And thanks for trusting in Thailand and for enjoying the game if you have already got it.
Yeah, and for the people who has put a review in Steam, thank you very much. That's been like very helpful. And people who has make a review on their pages, we are trying to answer everyone who writes us an email. We're very active, and we know that we appreciate our community. So yeah, thank you very much.
Awesome. And so it's on Switch, it's on Steam. Did you guys mention that it's coming to PS4 and Xbox?
Yeah.
Okay,
it's coming to PS4.
That's the announcement you made, correct?
Yes. So the game is going to be. We're working hard to make it available on PS4 and Xbox.
Okay.
So it will have 4K resolution compatible, ray tracing and everything.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. Yeah, it is 4K. The game is going to look great in 4K because I have my monitor in 2K and it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
So hopefully.
Yeah, I was going to say I must be playing the lowest quality version, right? I mean, the Switch graphics.
The Switch is not very powerful, yeah.
Right. And yet, what I wanted to say is, even in the Switch, it is a beautiful game.
Thank you. Thanks.
So I guess that's it. I personally am very much looking forward to whatever Hyper 3 Studio has coming in the future. I'm most certainly going to play the DLC, the extra levels, and whatever you guys mentioned, you have ideas for other games you're working on. Whatever those are, I 100% am excited and interested in seeing how they come out.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for inviting us. It is a pleasure to be here and to be sharing our story and providing more information.
Awesome. Well, that wraps up part 1 of my 2-part conversation with the guys over at Hyper 3 Studio. On the next episode, we are talking about the free DLC content released for the game back in July of 2021, so please stay tuned for that. You can find Hyper 3 Studio on the web at hyper3studio.com. They are on Instagram and Twitter at Hyper 3 Studio, and Tiny Lands is available on Switch and PC. I have to give a huge thank you to Isaac and Virgilio Cortez for coming on my show and talking about indie game development and telling their truly, truly inspiring story. Like they said themselves, they are living the indie dream, so congratulations to them. Be sure to find me on Twitter at IndieGameINTL and email me with any questions or requests for potential guests at sumadrepodcasts@gmail.com. That's SUMADRE podcasts, plural, @gmail.com. If you want to sponsor this podcast, hit me up on Twitter or email me. Thanks again times a million for listening today, and tune in on the next episode for our continued discussion about Tiny Lands and its immensely pleasurable DLC pack. Okay, peace out, and thank you so much for joining me.